What Kind of Family Is This? A book about stepfamilies. This is yet another book I can relate to. By Barbara Suling. Illustrated by J. Ellen Dulce. Are you ready? Here we go. Imagine if you were suddenly part of a whole new family with a new stepfather or stepmother, with a new stepbrother or a new stepsister, or even a new stepbrother and a new stepsister, and maybe even a new pet or two. Pets that didn't get along with your pet. That's what it was like for Jeff when he moved in with his new family. Jeff's mom and dad were divorced, which was bad enough. But then his mom got married again. So did my father. He too got married again, and now I have a stepmother, a stepsister, and a half brother. So yep, I have a step family too. There was Henry, Mom's new husband. "Hello, son," said Henry. Jeff didn't want Henry to call him son. Jeff didn't want to call Henry dad either, even though Henry was now officially his stepdad, so he just said, "Hello." Besides, Jeff had a dad. Just because he didn't live with him anymore didn't mean Jeff didn't have one. Jeff was not going to let Henry take his dad's place. I see. But there wasn't only Henry. Henry had 2 kids, Scott and Samantha. There were new rooms to sleep in and eat in and wash in. Because there were so many people, there were new rules to remember about chores and TV and talking on the telephone and even for using the bathroom. This ended up in a lot of fights, like when Samantha, who was a teenager, was getting ready for a date, and Jeff had to wait outside to the door to get in. "What kind of family is this?" Jeff shouted one day. "I can't even go to the bathroom when I want to." Another problem was Jeff's room. It was not his room exactly. It was Scott's old room, and Jeff had to share it with him. I know how that feels. I like having a room all to myself. I'm what I may call a lone sleeper. That means I like to sleep alone. Jeff was sitting on the bed one day, reading. Scott came in and banged his baseball glove down on the dresser. He turned on the radio, loud. Jeff got up to leave. "Stay on your side of the room," said Scott. "I am on my side of the room," said Jeff. "Well, just be sure you stay there," Scott answered. Then he pulled some string out of a drawer and tacked it up right down the middle of the room. Jeff was angry. He stormed downstairs. "What kind of family is this?" he shouted. "I don't have any privacy. I don't want to be here. Why do we have to live here anyway?" Mom explained that she and Henry loved each other and wanted to live together. She said they both loved their children and they wanted to live with them too. Excuse me. The only way they could do that was for all of them to move in together and learn to be a family together. "It takes time, but you'll get used to it," she promised. But Jeff was not getting used to it. He was sure he'd never be used to it. As a matter of fact, he hated it. especially when he looked at that string dividing his room in half. Jeff was cleaning his gerbil cage one day when Squeaker got loose. The fat little gerbil scooted across the room. "Squeaker, come back," called Jeff. That's when Scott walked in, carrying his cat, Tiger. Tiger leaped out of Scott's arms, and Squeaker ran for the space under the dresser. He disappeared just in time. "Get your cat out of here," Jeff shouted. "He'll get Squeaker." "Maybe I should let him," said Scott. "After all, this used to be his room and mine. Tiger lived here first before you and your old gerbil came to live here." "We didn't ask to come here," shouted Jeff. Jeff watched in horror as Tiger scratched at the space under the dresser. "Hey, stop that," he said as he ducked under the string. He sat in front of the dresser so Tiger couldn't get at Squeaker. "Stay on your side of the room," shouted Scott. Jeff reached under the dresser and felt Squeaker's soft furry body trembling with fright. Scooping him up gently, Jeff brought him back to his cage on the other side of the room. "Who wants to live in your old room anyway?" shouted Jeff, stroking Squeaker. "My room was 10 times nicer than this. It was quiet and neat, and I had great posters on the wall. And I even had my own private cave." Jeff hadn't really meant to tell that. It had been his secret. Scott reached down, picked up Tiger. "What kind of cave?" and picked up Tiger. "What kind of cave?" he said, petting the cat. Jeff stared down at Squeaker, who was curled up in his favorite corner. He was no longer trembling and was munching a carrot slice. "It was really a closet," he said, "but I pretended it was a cave. I could make magical things happen there." "Really?" said Scott. He put Tiger down. He went over to his closet and opened the door. "Look," he said, If we took all this junk out of here, maybe this could be a cave. Come and see." Jeff looked up. He wasn't sure he wanted to share his cave idea with Scott, not after what he'd said about Squeaker. "No," he said, "it's on your side of the room." Scott didn't hear. He was way inside his closet now, pitching out one thing after another. A pair of old cowboy boots, thunk, thunk. A baseball, thwap. A hockey stick, clank. A bicycle chain, clang. A rubber monster hand, whap. A Monopoly game, rattle. A pair of Mickey Mouse ears, thwack. A toy racing car set with tracks, bonk. A rolled up canvas tent, thud. Jeff took a look. It was a great closet. "This would make a terrific cave," he said, suddenly missing his old cave even more. Jeff felt like crying. He turned away, hoping Scott wouldn't see. Scott didn't. He was still deep inside the closet. "Making a cave is a super idea," Scott said. "I didn't know you had any good ideas." Just then, Mom and Henry came in to see what all the noise was about. "What's this?" said Henry, touching the string. Scott looked down, embarrassed. He went over and pulled the string down. "Nothing," he said. "What are you doing?" Mom asked. Scott looked at Jeff. "Fixing up our room," he said. Jeff was glad. "Can I put my spaceship poster on the wall?" he said. "Sure," said Scott. "Maybe we should put it on the door. This could be our space station." "Great idea," Jeff said. "I didn't know you had any good ideas either." The two boys smiled at each other. After that day, Jeff and Scott sometimes fought and sometimes didn't. Sometimes they talked and sometimes they didn't. Scott told Jeff how he felt about having another mother. It was the same way Jeff felt about having another father. Not so great at first. Jeff still didn't always get the bathroom before Samantha, and sometimes he didn't get to watch the program he wanted on TV. He still had to listen to Scott's radio sometimes when he'd rather be reading. But, just like his mom had promised, it was taking time, but he was beginning to get used to it. The end. If you ever have trouble adjusting to a step family, it helps to talk about it, and it's great to share your feelings about it. Just don't be rude about it, okay? See you later. Bye.